Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele and I'm an independent demonstrator of Stampin' Up here in New South Wales, Australia. So thank you for joining me today, and we're going to have a look at a few new items that will be coming up on our next online exclusive release. So please jump on, say hello, let us know where you're from, and as I go along, I'll hopefully catch you in the comments to say hi. So let me just bring my desk view up. Bear with me 1 second. Let me just make a quick adjustment to that. Okay, that's where we want it. Okay. So let's have a look at some of the new products that will be released in our next online exclusive. And I believe that will be probably November. So we have got this wonderful stamp set. Now this is the new packaging. So it's a new slimline packaging that Stampin' Up is going to be using. It's not the box anymore. It's longer in length, and as you can see, much slimmer. So really great for storing. So this stamp set is Our Story, and it's got some really great fonts and just a couple of little images that you can use on mainly probably I'd say your scrapbook pages more so than anything else, but you could use some of these on your cards as well. Let me just bring up the chat just to see who's jumping on. So I think this is one of my first go-tos, because I thought, no, that's just a really good one to have on hand. I can use that for lots of scrapbook pages. So these are photopolymer stamps. The envelope has got just a flap with a slit that you can just pop that into, which I find is quite okay. Let me just pull this out. So that comes out, that's all your information about it, and then you have your photopolymer stamp set on the inside. Now these images here are slightly smaller than the images in the actual stamp itself. So as you can see there, that circle one there, it's probably about half the size, taking into account, or 2/3 of the size. So they are a little bit bigger than what is on the front. I'm also finding too, the ones that have the dies, they fit quite nicely. It's got quite generous pocket size. You probably, have about 75 mil on either side, so there's a lot of room. Actually, it's not a tight fit, so that really pleased me, because I like to keep my stamps and my dies together, and I'll show you what I mean when I show you a few more. So that's one item that I got. Another one I got was the Banner Sayings bundle, and that comes with the punch. So some really lovely sayings here. You are loved, consider yourself hugged, wishing you good things, happy birthday, you did it, I'm here for you, thanks a million, I'm so grateful, you're sweet, I can't thank you enough, here's to you, cue the confetti, celebrate, and sending my love. So some really nice sentiments there, and a fantastic punch to go with them. So let me just grab a piece of cardstock here so we can have a look. I will just grab a piece of, I won't take that one, I'll take the basic beige I've got here, and let me just find a little scrap if I can. Nope, I'll use that one there. So let's just have a look at these lovely punches. So I'm just going to slip that into there. You can line them easily up with your sentiments. This one's a little bit tight, but then this is the first time I've used it, so let me just, got myself. That's one thing you've got to be careful of. You might just get yourself when pushing those hard ones together. So, whoops, just lost one of those tags. Think I just caught it. That really did pinch me. I have a little blood blister there soon. Okay, so there's our cute little banners. So, some of these banners will fit a lot of all these sentiments. So and small enough that they will fit inside there. And probably what I'm going to do is punch a few of them, so I've got a few handy. Oh, that was tight. So let me just try that again. I'll try not to crab myself this time. Sometimes you just need to do that a couple of times just to loosen things up, especially when it's brand new. Okay, so just punch them, keep your fingers out of the road so you don't get yourself in there. And you've got, our punches are really great because you have got that piece there that pulls across, that closes those punches up. But I thought that was a good punch for punching out your sentiment banners. So I'm going to pop those because I'm going to use those again. And I'm going to pop those all into my scrap bag. Okay. Oh, not smarting so much now. Okay, so that's that new product there. Another new product that Stamping Up have brought out, and this is the Whispers of Texture. Now, this is a specialty paper. It's 12 by 12, and it's in white. And it has a texture on it. Now, there's two different designs, I believe. So let me just grab the other one out. So if you love your textured paper, this one here, I don't know, you can't really see it. It's got like a corrugated on it. There used to be a basil many years ago, and I can't think now what it was called, but it had a design similar to that on it. You can use this for scrapbooking. You can use it for your card making. And then this one here has got like it's like a woven, but on a diagonal, so a bias strip type woven. So it's got beautiful texture to it. So I can't wait to have a play with those. Not something you'd stamp images or anything on, but you could definitely colour it with your blending brushes and so forth. Don't know. You could try your stamping on it. Just I don't know how it's going to go with your texture. So, but it'd be worthwhile to give it a go. Worthwhile to have a play. So that's that particular one. So I can't wait to have a play with those. I'm just going to pop that on the floor. And then I grabbed one of our big bundles, or I think may have been the bundle. Hi, Joan. How are you? Thanks for jumping on. So this one here is quite a big bundle. It's got 2 lots of paper, 2 lots of stamp sets and dies, and it's got some embellishments, and you've also got an embossing folder. So this is quite a pretty embossing folder, just a very simple sort of one. So this is the beautiful pattern embossing folder, and it's just got, I hope you can see that, just a really nice background on that. It's not too detailed, so it's not a 3D embossing folder. It's just more of a standard embossing folder, but lovely all over detail, and I love things like that because then they don't take over from the card. It just emphasizes what you're doing on the card. And as I said, you've got these lovely embellishments here, and that looks like they're crumb cake, calypso coral, and maybe a white, and it's got a slight pearlized effect to it. Hello, Kay. Thank you for joining. So they're going to be fun to play with. Now, these are the stamp sets. Now, and die bundles. So this is what I was saying before. I really like the fact that these aren't a tight envelope. So it came with just, say, the stamp set in it. So there's your stamp set. Lovely images on there. I wonder how this one compares in size. These ones are pretty much 2 size. So this first one I showed here, these are actually smaller, but this one here is, it looks like if it is actually 2 size. So when you order these, the stamp set comes in its own envelope and the dies come in its envelope. But what I'm going to be doing is, because these are together, I'm going to be packaging them both up together like that and then into one sleeve, and it fits in there quite comfortably. So there's the new stamp set and the Petals of Beauty, and these are the dies that go with them. So this is another good thing about having the new packaging, is they've actually photographed all the dies. Before, we didn't have that photograph on there, so you can actually see what dies you've got in there, and that's them there. Now, the only thing I haven't checked is whether my magnetic sheets will fit. Now, let me just see. I think they might do, which will be good. They will actually fit in there as well. So this will make the packaging a little bit thicker, but I'm just going to test it now. I'm just going to pop that in there. I will eventually take them off. And oops, I want it to go that way around. There's still plenty of room in that to hold that magnetic sheet with your dies and your stamp set. And because I'm keeping them, because I've spoken to a few friends and they've sort of said that the only thing that they're concerned about putting dies and stamp sets together is because your dies are metal, they're going to damage your stamp sets. But I'm going to be keeping both of these folders, so there's going to be quite a bit in between the two. I'm not going to be putting the two together, so they're going to be together in their paper sleeves, and also with a magnetic sheet in between. So that's going to work out really well for me. So that's one stamp set that comes with this bundle. The other stamp set that comes, and dies that come with this bundle, is the Words of Beauty. So again, I've doubled them up because you've got both dies and stamps. So here's our stamp set. So you've got your large wording, just because, and then you've got a lot of smaller words that you can add with that stamp as well to finish off your statement on your card or even your scrapbook page. So you've got your stamps there, and then it also comes with the dies. Now, the beauty of these dies is you could stamp your sentiment here and cut it out with this particular die here, which will just give you an edge around it. You can cut it out with another mat underneath it, but instead of stamping it, you can die cut it as well. And then you also have some sentiment dies to go with the sentiments on here. So another really great bundle if you love your sentiments. So, and I love how I love the dies with the words in the dies. So I think that's a great bonus. So they're your two bundles that come with the within this suite. Then we have our designer series paper. So let's have a look at this. I haven't even opened it yet. And we are going to make a card using this. Haven't decided yet which paper because I haven't, as I said, I haven't, well, as you can see, I haven't opened it. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So we've got a beautiful stripe here, and it looks like it's in the very vanilla, though I find very vanilla is too yellow, so I'll probably be putting a basic beige with that because I think it goes with the basic beige quite well, but it is a very vanilla. If you compare that cream stripe with your basic beige, it is definitely a very vanilla. But that's crumb cake with very vanilla, and then on the other side you have this beautiful floral. Now they've left a border around this. They haven't taken it past the edge of the paper. So again, another good one for scrapbooking if you'd like to do your scrapbooking with your floral papers as well. So there's that one. Then we have that as your B side, and our A side is that, and that would be with the trying to think of the name of the colour, Darling Duckling. So really nice bright combination there. We have our Mossy Meadow. I think Mossy Meadow is one of my favourite greens at the moment. And there we go again with your crumb cake background. It's not quite I wouldn't call that a very vanilla, but it's not a white either. So it's interesting. It's just a very soft white. Let me grab some very vanilla cardstock. Yeah, it's sort of close to the very vanilla. The basic beige has probably still got either one. I tend to stay away from a very vanilla. I find it a little bit too yellow, but I mean that goes with that. It is like a very vanilla, but it sort of works quite well. But I think your basic beige, if you like your basic beige, would go with that as well. So let me just move these out of the road. So when I'm putting these back together, I've got putting all my papers together. So I've got that one. Then there's your Calypso Coral, great for your backgrounds. And there's your very vanilla and crumb cake again. Now I'm not quite sure. This would either be, it's definitely not Mossy Meadow. Sort of more getting into your Secret Sea sort of colouring, because that's one of the colours that they said that you could put with this. But it's sort of got very lighter tones of it. Don't even know whether I'd really even call that Secret Sea, because Secret Sea's got a lot more blue in it, a lot more blue. Let's just have a quick look. Where's that cover sheet? Let's see what else it could be. Calypso Coral, Darling Duckling, Early Espresso, Lost Lagoon. There you go. So they've taken the Lost Lagoon and they've taken it probably up a few shades. So let's have a look at Lost Lagoon with that. Yep, definitely. So they've done a darker version of your Lost Lagoon. So it's definitely heading into that. And on the opposite side of that, oh, that's pretty. I think we might make a card with that one today. So let's pop that to one side. And then we have this one, it's your crumb cake and your very vanilla. And that's a very pretty one as well. And they've started adding in there the petal pink. So you've got your Darling Duckling, your petal pink, and your very vanilla, and your Mossy Meadow and Lost Lagoon. Nice, very nice. Okay, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So now I've got that, chosen that one. Now I do want, because I want to make a card with this, and this is my design I want to use. So I'm going to use this as my example where I'm going to start off with. May not put this strip across here. Not quite sure whether I'm going to be using a circle on this, but we'll definitely work out what we can use as our dies. But I want to use that one, I think, for my floral piece at the back, or I could even use it for this grey piece here. But I do want to maybe use another. Let's just have a look. So we've got all of those. The other one I was thinking of would be the stripe, or even if I was going to team it up maybe with this one. So maybe I think I might do those two together. I quite like those two together. So let's make a card using those. Let's remove, I've got one more item to show you that comes in this bundle this week. Okay, they've brought out, and I really love this idea, some vellum, 12 by 12 vellum. Let's just have a quick look at this. So we may even use this on our card as well. I am so pleased they've brought vellum out. I love vellum, because if you've got a design which is really busy, you can put a piece of vellum over it and it'll just tone it down. So vellum is great for that sort of thing, and I just love it. It's a really thick vellum too. So it comes in 12 by 12, and how many are in the pack? There's 12 sheets in a pack. So you'll get quite a bit out of that. But I might buy myself a second pack next month just so then I have got plenty because I really miss my vellum. Okay, so let me just remove all of these papers. I'll package them up later. I think they're going to be quite popular. So I'm going to do, my card is going to be those two papers, plus I want to put some vellum into it. Now, what have I got here? I've just pulled out some of the colours that go with it as far as colours that they've suggested on the back, but I'm thinking I might do because there's Mossy Meadow in this, whether I do my card base in that or there's no actual, let's bring this one up to the top because this is really what I'm looking at. So we've got Mossy Meadow. We can do a card base in, because this is matted. And at the moment, I'm sort of not quite sure whether I'll do the floral in this little piece. I'm thinking of doing the floral in the back and then having this one as that grey piece there. But I want, if I do that as my card, and then don't know whether how would it look if I matted that? Just wondering if that is too strong. Now the other colour I haven't brought over, let's just have a quick look at Crumb Cake. I'm just not quite sure whether that Mossy Meadow is just too much. Didn't bring any Calypso Coral over, but I don't necessarily want to put Calypso Coral into it, I don't think. Let's just go and grab that anyway and let's have a look. So you tell me what you like. I just think that's Mossy Meadow is too much. The other one that's in there you've got is Darling Duckling. I'm just going to grab a little piece of that out because you've got a little bit of Darling Duckling in there. So you could even use, see, that would be quite pretty with a Darling Duckling as the mat and then have that over the top. So have your card base in that and have that over the top. I can still bring in a bit of Mossy Meadow with some leaves. But I do want to grab the Calypso Coral, so bear with me 1 second. Yeah, the Crumb Cake is a lot softer looking with it. I think that the Mossy Meadow is just too harsh. Needed more solid colour to go with it. Let's have a look. So just remember that Darling Duckling, if I use it, it's just going to be a little bit of a contrast. Grab the stamp pad while I was there. So I think our card base is going to be definitely that. Then either just remove that vellum for a second because I know what I want to use that for. So which one are we going to go for, Calypso Coral or the Darling Duckling? I think I'm tending to go towards the Darling Duckling myself. Okay, you don't like the yellow at all? Let's take that out and have a look. Oh, I think I'm siding with you a bit now, Kay. Okay. I think we've made our decision. Let's start making this card. So, as I said, this is my idea. It's my template. So let's grab our paper trimmer and I'm going to score this at 14.9. I like to score my widths first because I'm going to cut this in half so I can get 2 cards out of it. And I'm going to pop that on 10.5. Remember, if you're using letter size, then you're going to go 4 1/4. And I'm going to cut that in half. And this is going to give me a 10th fold card. So I can pop that one away for another card. So there's our card base. Then we decided we're going to go the Calypso Coral for our mat. And I'm not quite sure what size have I got here. So I want 10 by 14.4. No, it's a bit too small. So let's grab another piece. This side of it's been in the sun a little bit, so I don't want that side. So I want to cut this at 10. My old craft room, I had a lot of sun coming in the window, and the way I stored my cardstock, a lot of it got a bit discoloured on the edges. So it's something you have to be very aware of where you store your cards. So I want this at 14.4. Does say a lot for keeping cardstock in folders. So there's our mat. Then we want our designer series paper. And I'm going to cut this. Now I'm going to just check first the direction of my paper and the direction underneath. So underneath doesn't really matter because it's that all over. So there's no real direction on this. It's got certain flowers. If we actually look for that flower there again, you'll probably find it is all going in the one direction. It's not going in 2 different directions, but I don't think if we turn this around, it does look actually better that way with those little flowers there going up. So I'm going to cut it in that direction. But I'm going to cut this up into a 10 centimetre strip. So I'm just going to cut this at 10. I'm going to trim it down again. But because this is about 30 centimetres wide, it does allow me to cut it into easy usable pieces for cards. And I'm going to cut it at 6 inches or 15.2 mil, I think it is. And then we're going to cut this down again. So I'm going to pop that over there out of my road for the moment. And because this piece here is 10, I'm going to cut this down to 9.7. Because I like to use, it's really personal preference, but I like to have a 5 mil difference between my card base and my mat, and then a 3 mil difference between my mat and my next layer. Just for me, not going even all the way around, and have it sort of a slightly smaller, looks more pleasing to my eyes. So this one here is 14.1. But it does all boil down to personal preference, okay? So that is going to be that piece there. Now this one here, if I had have not trimmed this down to start with, I probably could have used that. Well, I probably still will use that somehow to decorate the inside of my card, but we'll work that out in a little while. But I'm not going to get rid of those little pieces. I am going to keep them to one side until I work out what I want to do. So there's our main part. So I've got that piece there, and then that's going to on top. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to use this one for that strip down the center. Now I'm just looking at this side as well, because this has got a definite direction on it. So if I'm going to cut this, I want to make sure, see what direction that's going to cut it. So that's going to cut with that going across, and I think that's going to look okay. So again, I'm going to cut this in a 10 centimeter strip, even though I don't need 10 centimeters. And I'm going to cut this at 6 inches. Now, this is what I was about to say before. If I had have kept this piece here, because I cut that at 10 centimeters, let me just remove all of this and I can show you what I'm talking about. I cut it in 10 centimeters, which I had this strip here on the end and that strip on the bottom. Now, I cut this strip here first, which makes this part here narrower. So if I'm going to use this piece here on the insert, what I should have done or could have done is cut that bottom piece off first, and then if I did a 10 centimeter piece, width piece to go inside there, there's my 10 centimeters. But at the moment I've cut this down to 9.7, so it's 3 millimeters narrower. So if I was going to do card insert, and I probably would do it in, let's do it in the Very Vanilla, even though I don't use it a lot. Let me cut this down now. So this is for my insert. So I'm going to cut this at 10 by 14.4, which is my general insert size if I wasn't matting. So if I wanted to use this piece, I'm actually going to be a little bit smaller. Now, it still works because what I can do is just add a border around all the sides of that. But because it's narrower, I wouldn't be able to go from side to side. But if so let me just leave those there, and I'm going to use this piece as an example. If I cut this strip off first, so this piece here, I want to cut to the same as because on my design here, it's not going to ruin it because I want it to cut the same length as my DSP, so which was 14.1. I'm left with a strip here which is about 1 centimeter wide by my 10 centimeters. So I'm hoping I'm not confusing you here, which if I wanted to go from edge to edge, that would cover that first. So just, you've got to think when you're cutting up your papers on what the effect is that you're going to use at the end. The thing I'm thinking of doing with this is I'm going to turn that around and have that on there, because that's going to go right across to the edge. And I'm going to use this little strip just to add a little bit of colour on the top there. And I think that's going to give that a nice little finish. So I'm going to do that, glue that all together now. Still haven't finished cutting yet, but that's okay. So I'm going to put this piece on there like that. And then this little bit here, just going to add some glue right along. And then I'm going to add that just about there. Now, I've got a little bit of glue on there. I'm going to pop that to one side and let that dry for a little bit before I trim anything off. But that's just a good thing to think about when you're, just going to move that a little bit. Just to me, it's a little bit, one side of this just needs to be Sorry, I'm just being a little bit pedantic about my sizing there. It's just something to think about when you're cutting something up, is your scraps. What are you going to use them for? If you do like to keep your scraps to decorate the inside of your card, then trim this piece off first before you do that bit there. It's something I've learned by habit, because I always trim this first and then I'm stuck with that piece being slightly smaller. Now, the size, I need to trim this down a bit more. So luckily I've got myself some measurements, and I'm going to trim it down to 5 centimetres. So let's grab our trimmer, and I'm going to cut this down to 5. So that piece is going to, leftover piece is going to go into my designer series paper pack, and this is going to be what I'm going to use on the front of my card. So I can start piecing some of this together. So let's start gluing some of this together, because then we can see how we're going to finish this off. So let me bring in my, there's my design idea. So I'm going to adhere these two together. Now I could have done just a plain cardstock on there for that strip, and then I could have embossed it. I can actually even emboss that now just to give it a bit extra texture if we wanted to. So let's have a look. Here's my embossing folder. If you wanted to give a bit extra texture to there, I don't think I am going to do it, because I think I'm looking at the design on there and it might be just that little bit too much. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it for this time around. But I mean, it is a pretty folder. But if you wanted to add more texture, you could do that there. So I'm going to now adhere this piece on. All these papers remind me of really old fabric, because the background on this has got like a slight little hash to it, which is just like, and even this side here, it's got like a little linen type line to it. So back in the, I suppose, 80s, my mother had some really lovely sun frocks, and they're all in these colours. And this is what this is reminding me of at the moment, is those particular dresses that Mum made, and they were in a very slubby, linen-y type look fabric. Very reminiscent of that in my childhood. Okay, so let's adhere that together. Now we, by all means, haven't finished here. We've got a bit of stamping we can do. So and I think I'm going to stamp on Very Vanilla. Just be very careful when you do stamp on colours, because they can change the colour of your ink tone. So if you stamp on white, your colour stays pretty true. If you stamp on a basic beige or even Very Vanilla, your undertones of your colour can change. Now I've just got a little bit of glue there, so I'm just going to take that off with the rubber. Getting a bit of glue on my glass now. Okay, that's removed that. That's going to be good. And we can adhere that inside our card. So there we go. There's our card base all done. So now let's just do some decorating. So let's have a look what we've got. Now we've got our 2 stamp set bundles. So let's bring both of those out. And I think we might start with some of these floral images here. Let's grab the stamps. That's my dies. I'm going to have to get used to this, aren't I? There's our stamped images there. So instead of this, I've got a strip that goes across here. Instead of that strip, I think I'm going to just do, leave that off. And instead of the circle, we're going to add some of the flowers instead and some of the leaves. And that strip might become a lot smaller and be our sentiment. So we'll have a look at that in a minute, but let's just play with these stamps. So I want to stamp on some Very Vanilla. Let me see if I can find some here. Where's my envelope with the Very Vanilla in it? I know I've got some pieces here. There we are. They're sticking out. Might have to grab another sheet of Very Vanilla. Let's just grab that to start with because I'm going to need a bit more paper than that. Now these are 2-step stamping. So let's just move these out of my road for the moment and let's grab some blocks. And I'm going to stamp up a few of these. So we've got our larger flower there. This block here will do. And there's the detailed part of that one. And then we have a solid image of the smaller flower. And our detailed one. And I want to use the vellum, so at the moment I think I'm just going to use those. Let's get rid of that. Let's just cut this in half so we don't have to have too much here. So, because I like working on half sheets or quarter sheets. So I will cut this into a quarter sheet, so that's 14.9 by 10.5, so that's a quarter of an A4 sheet, which is a nice workable size. Now this is a solid image, so I do need a foam mat underneath. So I've got my foam mat there. Just giving this a bit of a rub clean because this is the first time I've used them. So I'm going to use my petal pink as my solid piece. So let's see how we go. So let's stamp that one there. Just hold it down for a little bit. too bad. Quite happy with that. Less. Just giving that a rub on my hand just to take off any of the surface residue from when they manufactured it. And let's stamp. That one. Might do a couple of these. Now these are like a distinctive stamp, so you will get the light and the dark coming through with the way they've manufactured the stamp. Close that up. And this is the Calypso Coral. Now, first thing I'm going to do is work out where these stamps fit. Okay, so that's how it's going to sit there. So let's just season this one a bit. Make sure I've got it right there, and let's ink this up. So I want to move that around, and because being a photopolymer stamp, I can see through it, I can line it up. And there's that image there. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Let's repeat that again with our smaller one. Now again, I need to work out before I ink this where this is going to fit. Just a matter of taking your time. And that's going to fit just in there like that. Okay, so let's ink this one up. That's that one. And then again, lining this all up. Nice. I might just do that one more little flower again. So let me just grab, actually we might do another big one as well. So do that one there. Do that one. This one here I'm just not quite as happy with. Okay, I should have just checked which way this is going, but I think that one is going that way. No. That looks about it. I'm sorry if I've got my head in the road. Line those up. Yeah, that's a much better image to that one. And then we'll take this one here. Line that one up. be interesting to do some different color combinations and see, because I mean, even though you don't need to, you could use these stamps without the designer series paper, so you could use whatever color combination you want. Does anyone have a favorite that they like to use? Just going to give these a quick clean, because being photopolymer, I like to clean these ones pretty much straight away. Some of your dark colours will stain it, but just remember, if your photopolymer stains, the colour won't, as long as you clean the stamp, the photopolymer will stain, but the colour won't go through to your other work. So I'm just going to trim this in half, because I'm going to pull out my mini cut and emboss and the plates, and we'll cut these out. I always put my scratchier plate on the bottom. So let's grab our dies. Now there's a couple of things I'm going to do here. Let's have a look. So we've got the dies that'll cut out the flowers, but then we have other dies we'll cut out pieces that we can put on top. So we're going to have a bit of a play. Need to work out where do these all pieces fit in first. That looks like that goes into there. Whoops, that moved a little bit. I might have to, there's that one. I'll cut that again using the other piece that we stamped. See if we get a little bit of a better cut. Something moved right at the end. It does take a little while, and sometimes you need to put down some washi tape or some sort of tape to hold these in place. So let me just grab the tape here. Whoops, just not quite happy with that. Okay, so we've got it's a better cut image. Now we've got the smaller flower, which is going to be this one here. There's lots of dies in this, which is really fantastic. That bit across there. I've also got in the designer series paper, they've got these flowers, same flowers done in other colours as well. So that one wasn't the one I liked too much. So let's just do this one. There's one in here that they've got on the designer series paper, which is with probably the Darling Duckling. And so there's those, but let's just have a look and see what other. So I want to get rid of that. But what I do want to have a look at, let me just move this for a second. I need to work out somewhere else to put my paper trimmer, but I want to get the petal pink, and instead of stamping the background, I'm just going to stamp the detailed. See if it works okay by using. Yep. Okay. Let's do another one on the back here. I should have foam mat underneath this. Just had, okay, I'm going to change my mind on this one. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to stamp that off. No, I've just done the wrong thing again. Excuse me one bit. Let me grab my Darling Duckling ink, but I'm also going to grab a bit of scratch paper. Because I want to stamp off and do a couple of different flowers. Okay then. Here's some scratch paper. So what I want to do is, let's do this one. And I've got my cardstock. I'm going to stamp off and stamp on there. Then I'm going to grab this one. See if I can line these up. So I'm using the petal pink, and I've just stamped it off, so I've got a lighter shade and then a darker one on top. And I like that. Probably a bit better than I like it with the Calypso Coral. Sometimes I find the Calypso Corals very bright, but also doing this on the Very Vanilla, it has changed the tone. And I forgot to stamp off. Let's stamp off and then stamp on again. And do this one at full strength. Do one more. Oops. Really need to do this with the mat underneath, even with stamping off. And let's line this one up. A little bit harder to line up because the image underneath is a lot lighter. That's better. And just need to clean this off because I've been having just, while I'm talking to you, looking at these flowers in here, and they've got some in the petal pink, but some in the just with the like very light shade of Darling Duckling, and I'm just wondering whether I can create something similar with now I do want to stamp off. I want to stamp off onto there and just see if I can create, and I'm not using the first stamp, I'm only using the second stamp just to give me a little bit of yellow in there. And I think also what I'm missing is I haven't done any little centers. And I believe, I'm just going to keep that out. Where's this stamp set? And there are some little center pieces here. So there's this little bit here that I believe is going to give us a nice little center. And I'm going to do that. In all of these. Unfortunately, I don't think there's one smaller. I think the other one is for the 3 flowers. So let's, well, oh, didn't take my stamp, put my stamp straight into the ink pad. Luckily, it was that way around. Okay. It's that one. No, I don't think I'll be using that. I'm going to stamp that in the middle. Then these ones here, I'm going to stamp them a bit darker in the middle. Okay, let's see how we go with this. We're going to have lots of bits and pieces here, but that's okay. So pop all those out of the road. Let's bring in our, always better to have too many flowers than not enough. Excuse me. Let's cut some of these. We only end up using a couple of these flowers, so might leave those ones, but I want a couple of these to see how these turn out. It's always good to have a little bit of a colour difference. Now what I'm planning to do is to cut my leaves in vellum, just for the fact that it'll soften it rather than using a solid colour, because I think it'll be the same as, I mean, you could use a soft colour like your old olive or even your Lost Lagoon, but if I'd use the Mossy Meadow, I think it's just going to be too overpowering for the paper that's underneath, because I still want the paper underneath to be a slightly bit of the hero. Don't necessarily want it to the Mossy Meadow to overtake the whole lot. Okay. Now, let's grab our vellum sheet and cut it down. So again, I'm going to cut this down. Probably not this. I'll cut it down to the 10 because then I can play. Now I'm going to cut these down again because these are 6. I'm going to cut them down to 3-inch pieces, and that's just so then I can put them through my mini cut and emboss quite easily without having to bring out the big one. Now, this vellum is considerably heavier than our previous one. But what I want to do in the dies, we've got these beautiful leaves here, which I want to cut. Got these ones here, which I'm really wanting to see how these work. And because there's a lot of other dies there that cut leaves and everything as well, so there's quite a bit there to play with. But these are the 3 I think I want to have a go with. And I'm hoping that because this is a slightly thicker vellum than we've had previously, it might cut a lot easier. Sometimes found the other vellum didn't cut as easily as I wanted it to. Let's pop one of those onto there. So I've got a leaf and one of the small flowers, and that small flower piece will act as an overlay and just soften the other flowers a little bit. That gives you a really nice, isn't that beautiful? Love the shape in that. Hello, Lorraine. How are you going? We're playing with some of the new products. And look at that one. And if we pop that over the top of, let's have a look at this one here. Now, I'm not expecting it to fit exactly, but let's just see how close it does get. It's not going to fit exactly over the top, but I just think, you know, it's just going to give that a little bit of an artistic sort of overlay over it. So, and the other thing too is instead of doing stamped flowers, you could very easily just have just all vellum. So let's cut some more vellum. I want another one of these leaves. So I like to do things that are symmetrical, and that's just me. So let's cut another piece here. So there's the bigger one. Trying to pop that out without getting my, but I'll just have to, without getting my take a pick tool. Now, you might just cut at least another couple more of these little flowers. And maybe another one. And then let's see how we're going to go putting this together. And then we just have our sentiment. Now, I'm not going to be using, I don't think, the big one, just the fact that, well, we'll have a look. Just got to very gently work this out of the die. There we go. Clean up all that later. Let's have a look at this card and see what we've got happening. So here's our card. Got it the right way around. And let's have a look with all our bits and pieces. So we could start off with that. I just think that's enough of that dark green in there without adding too much. Otherwise, we're going to lose things a little bit. So let's just add a little bit of that one. And then this is our softer pink. Just wondering whether they're just a little bit too big, or we could always go that one. No. Yeah, just don't know about those bits. I think I'm going to have a play a bit more with that. Let's just take these bits off. Sort of got another idea in mind, but because I really love these leaves. I want those leaves really to be sitting on that piece there. Now, I'm just, where's those words? Got stuff here everywhere now. Okay. getting rid of everything here that's not supposed to be here. There it is. It's on the other side of me. Okay, then let's have a look. So there's our stamps. Now, just because is actually in two. Just because might be just a little bit too big for what I'm wanting. Take all those off and then that's done. Okay. Where's the words just because? So you've got just because. They would have to be on an angle to fit into there. Yeah, it's just a little bit too big, I think, from what I'm got in mind. But let's just have a look at some of these sentiments instead. So we could put so you've got lots of different sentiments here we could use. You've got, kind, sweet, you're a great friend, it's your birthday. And I think actually I might use that one. It's your birthday and just use it. And I've got a piece here and I'm going to definitely use, and I'll cut all of that up. We haven't hardly used any of that, but I've still got, I'm going to do it's your birthday. I like that because it's just that little bit of calypso coral. And this is the die. Let's cut that out with that. I'm going to have lots of cleaning up to do after this today. You can always tell when I haven't quite planned what I'm doing. I seem to be umming and ahhing all over the place. But I think but then playing with brand new product, and I haven't had a chance. I've been so busy sewing this week to even look at this stuff. I only got it yesterday. So definitely want those two leaves there because I really like those. Then it's your birthday. Now we've got all of these bits and pieces. So let's see what we can throw in around it. Put that one in there. just don't know about these ones. I think I might want to keep it just really simple because I really do love that paper and how that paper's works there together. So I think I'm going to start by adhering these down first. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue because my flower's going to cover these up. Now just remember, when you're using vellum, you've got to be very mindful of where you're putting your glue and making sure that things are going to cover it up. Now I want to pop a couple of very mini dimensionals on the back of this. I might be able to get away with the bigger ones. Let's have a quick look. Yep. So I'm just putting one at each end for the moment. I'm not gluing any of this down. I do want that to go over the top. Whether I stick that up there and have that can come out there. So I'm going to pop it, because I do like that underneath there, I'm going to pop a little bit of glue in there. Pop a bit of glue in the centre, and that allows me to still poke things in underneath if I want to. I'm going to take the backings off that. Oops, I just want to bring that over that way a bit more. So this one here, I'm going to pop a dimensional on the back of that one. Work out which way I want this one to go. I want that to sit about there. I'm going to pop him underneath as well. So that's that so far. Now, do we need to add more to it? That's the thing, or do we leave it as that? Now, I have got, what have we got in here? So we've got that. We could do some leaves in that. I'm not going to do any more stamped leaves. Make sure you don't lose all those little bits and pieces. Now, do I do sort of lost a little bit of our green there, so we could bring in a little bit, but is the mossy meadow going to be too bright, or should I bring in a little bit of old olive? I know old olive isn't in this, but let's just have a quick look. Yeah, I love the vellum leaves too. I really do. I love the vellum. As I said before, I was really disappointed when they discontinued it, so glad to see it's back again. I think vellum just softens things. I think there are times when your paper is so harsh or your stamping's a little bit harsh, and it just needs something to bring it back a little bit, and I think it gives that whispery effect, which is what I really love. Let's just have a look and see, because if I use this, I am going to trim this down. And I think I quite like that, so I'm going to cut a second one, but I don't need to. I wonder if I can cut it. I only really need, I don't think I'm going to fit it into that. Didn't know I had 2 pieces of cardstock there. But anyway. You should see my desk at the moment. It's a good thing you can only see the dies. You can imagine that 10 times over with everything on my desk just all piling up. I've been trying this year to stay a lot tidier than I normally am, and today I've reverted back to old habits. This is where I become very symmetrical. What I have at the bottom, I've got to have at the top. I don't know, I'm just that way wired. Even when I do my photography, I'm always looking for things that are symmetrical rather than, I just sometimes think it just, see if I can, I think that'll work out quite well with there. Probably bring that up a little bit higher. It almost needs something here. So let's pop this in. Pop that there. Don't want to go too far that way. I'm just wondering what there is. Not that I want to do too much more stamping, but what have we got here? So dies. There's our stamp sheet. So there's these tiny little flowers here, but I'm sure they're only separate little individual flower. They're not individual flowers, they're a little grouping of 3. Wondering if they're supposed to go with that. But I'm sure that's the centre of that leaf there. If we did those little flowers, what colour would we do them? Could even do them in a crumb cake, you know. I wonder what they would look like. Because they're going to be stamped on the very vanilla. Problem is, can I find the stamps? There they are. Is that they've got centres, which means we need 2 little blocks. They're going to be too small. Not too small for that. Let's have a try. So we need our foam mat again, and we need our scratch paper. Just to me, it needs something else in there. There's not enough little flowery stuff. Okay. Stamping off. So that's our flower. Now tell me, what do you think? Do you think that's going to make a little bit of the difference or not? Don't know whether I've got that right in the centre or not. Let me turn this around. Might have to restamp that other one. Definitely goes that way. Excuse my head. Yeah, sometimes it even works better when you stamp your... let's grab another piece of... When you stamp your darker part first and then come in with the lighter, and that's going to work out much better. You can see what I'm doing now. Why didn't we think of this one earlier? Look at that, beautiful. I've got to redo that one again. Did them a little bit too close. Okay, let's die cut those and see how they're going to look. Not the best stamping out, I don't think, but make sure I've got no dies in there. Now let's find that little die. Did have it before. Our leaves. There's that little die. Where'd that little die go? We might not be cutting anything out. The universe might be telling me you've got enough on there. There they are. Now, I do have to apologise because I haven't blogged last week's card, and that was just because things got away with me on the fact that we ended up going away the next day and I had a blog hop to get things ready for, and then I had a huge amount of sewing to do straight after. So do apologise for that, and I will be hopefully getting that blog hopped, because I think that card I did last week was such a cutie. And something that little bit different. Look, I think the way to go with these photopolymer stamps, and it's something I'm going to have to remember to do myself, is stamp your detail part first, then stamp your other on top, because it's usually in the darker colour, so you can see it a lot better. And I think that would have made life much easier. And only learn it at the end. Isn't that always the way? Okay, so our card. Let's bring our card back in. Do we need these or not? Just to add a little bit of filler in there. Just sort of feel like it needs not a lot. That's why I went sort of for a lighter colour or light tonics rather than dark. And it doesn't even need to go. I'm just sort of wondering, does it need it, not need it? Tell me what you think. Just seems to be like a couple of holes, but I don't want to clump it in too much. Some ways I wish I could maybe just cut around these. Make them a little bit smaller maybe. That might be the way to go. That one there and have the two there. Just adds that little bit, just fills up that hole. Then we have these. And I think I'm going to go with the crumb cake. Add one there. One up there. And another one there. Okay. So I'll scoot all this to one side. And I think that's it. Our card is done. So having a really, sort of a bit of a play with a brand new product. So we started off with something like that. That was our idea. So we still haven't done this wide strip across here, but I still have it with that sentiment. I don't have that circle, but we've still got a circle of flowers of sorts, and we've still got our leaves. So I don't think we've done too badly. But it's one I think I'm going to have fun playing with this, but it's a very soft and subtle, even though the colours look a little bit bright. It is it's very soft and subtle. You don't have any sort of, unless you bring in these coloured flowers in there, which could have still worked because it would have brought in colours there, but I really didn't want to take away from that background. I just think that background paper is so pretty. But anyway, that's just a bit of a first time play with that. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me today. As I said, I've got all that new product that I showed you earlier. Really, really happy with the vellum. I'm glad they've got that, and it cut really well with the die cut. I love the other vellum we had, but this is just that little bit thicker, so it cut quite well. It'd go really, really well with your embossing folder. Trying to think, what else did we have? We had that textured paper, and I'm going to be really interested to have a bit of a play with that and seeing how it goes with using a blending brush on it to add a bit of colour to it. Hello, Sharon. Thank you for joining. So, yeah, whoops, that's not supposed to be in there. That's one of those little dimensional nuisance pieces. Added its own dimension to my card. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been lovely having you on here. Lovely to have a chat with you all. As you can see, I make a big, huge mess everywhere. It's a good thing you can't see what's over here and what's over this side. It's my first time creating with this stuff, this particular product. So yeah, let's see what we come up with other cards. And please share, tag me in your creations to let me see what you come up with if you purchase this particular suite. So this will be part of the next online exclusives, which I believe come out in the beginning of November. And these ones are called, if I can find the name of it. Wait there, let me get this designer series paper. It'll be on the back of that because I use the same name. Brushed with Beauty. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Take care. Have a nice, safe weekend, and we'll catch up with you later in the week. Bye for now.